feeling. Good question. It's you in this position a couple days after a season ends. It's never easy. I've gone through a lot of different emotions. Post game, plus flight home, everything. Just kind of decompressing now, and you just slowly figure things out from here, I guess. Yeah, it still stings. It's going to sting for a while. It's disappointing in a sense that we believe we should, still be playing.
Is that a hard one, especially this year? Because from the outside, it looks like you guys really had a chance to do it. I don't know if that. You always feel like
yeah, but that's the way it felt. That's the way we believed. Every guy in that room, and it was real. There's times where you're hoping to get through a series, this or that, and playing like we believed we could beat anybody, and we were good enough. We didn't get it done, so it's disappointing that way, probably, and just shows you how tough it is at times, and some of the breaks you need, and we came up a little short.
Throughout the season, you ask a guy to talk about his own game, and you get an answer, but you ask any player to talk about somebody else on the team, and it's just been great answers and smiles. Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about how close this team really was, and was it one of the best you've been on?
Yeah, it was, one of as good of a team as I've been on. And yeah, you got so much respect for the guys in the room and what they did and roles guys played. And, sometimes they were bigger, sometimes they were smaller, and it was never became a problem, and every dinner we went out to, every plane flight we took, it was nothing but good times, really, and a lot of fun and a lot of respect and jokes, and just great people to be around and competitors. And we had our fun, and then when it was time to play, we played, and it was just as fun of a season as I can remember.
Is that what makes this a little bit harder, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. It's never easy, but you get a real shot, and that's all you can ask for.
So you can talk about the emotions and kind of decompressing. Clearly, there's decisions to be made about going forward. What is that going to take? You do this much.
Yeah, I can't believe it took as long as it did. No, that's good. I respect it. Yeah, this was it for me. Like, it was known for a while, probably. The plan is not to play next year. They'll still moving back at some point here and decompress and figuring all the stuff out and logistics and stuff. But yeah, it was probably, I don't want to say this is official, but the plan is not to be coming back, and there'll be more to come on that. Everything's so raw that like nothing official. There'll be more words, and I'm gonna need a little bit of time to really put it together and figure it out that way. But most likely that was it, and it was, couldn't ask for a better opportunity, a better group of guys to be around, and getting through this fairly good. But there's been a lot of different emotions, down the stretch, and the last couple of days it's been fun, and it's as simple as that. And we'll figure it out here in the next little bit and see how it all unfolds.
You never like to talk about yourself, but when you came here, did you anticipate the stretch you've had in Dallas to be? The numbers are pretty impressive. And I know you don't like to pump your own tires, but this is a really nice stretch of hockey in Dallas.
Yeah, and you're not pumping. As athletes, you expect the best out of you. You get to a certain level. Felt like I was coming in, from San Jose to here, still at an extremely high level, and I believed in that. And it was, the start here didn't go probably how we wanted. It was a little slow there, but it was another. I think we're coming off conference finals, and there were multiple injuries you're kind of recovering from, and then you add in the changes and just different scenarios that are going on in recovery, and it just started a little slow. But it was never a belief that was it. That was what it was going to be. I still had a high expectation for my game, and I was glad to see it get back to that level and then sustain it. and it wasn't just all about me. Like, played with some great players and came into an organization that had good people and good talent, and there's a a strong support system around me to allow me to do some of that as well.
After Game 6, all the guys we talked to got a little emotional when talking about you. Wyatt got a little teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Jamie and Tyler. What does it mean to know that, not just as a player, but as a person, you left an impact on this group and those guys?
Yeah, that's how I feel towards those guys, as well. And there's so many emotions going on right after that game and stuff. It's, they're all real. And like, I couldn't have asked for more, better teammates, organization, everything. We worked hard to try to get to the top. We came up a little short, but just really enjoyed, the time here and what I've been able to accomplish with them and, all of us together.
Would coaching ever be in your future?
Some youth hockey for sure. We'll be around that more. It'll be fun to be around, more, and you never know what happens. Love the game, believe I'm a hockey guy, and it's so never be too far away from that.
Joe, do you enjoy breaking down video for a youth hockey team?
Once in a while. I guess it's fun. You try to help them. Their kids are fun to be around, so if you can help them out, we're all just enjoy the game together and go from there.
How much of your son being at the age he is and where he's at and playing hockey kind of played into this decision?
It probably plays a little bit of a role. No, he didn't probably want me to be done as much as anyone. So, there's different timing of it, body, how the body's feeling. Different things play into it, but it's it all throws little pieces in, and yeah, it's, I don't know, family, means everything, and it'll be fun to be around it.
Will any of the young guys still be staying with you even into retirement?
No, we'll be moving back to Wisconsin, so I'll be visiting. I'll be staying with them, hopefully, a little bit, and we'll definitely be in touch. That's for sure.
I asked Pete this about the fingerprints that you have on this team goes beyond what you did on the ice. How do you feel like you kind of played a mentor role with the young guys like a Johnston, Sneakovers, and the impact that could have for you?
They make it easy being around them. First off, you love coming to the rink and love sharing experiences, going through it day to day, the grind and everything. But the teammates make it easy, to share and, try to help each other out. And that's the biggest thing I could probably say is it's never been a hard thing, to be around them. And it's, something I enjoyed definitely watching them play, trying to learn from them, because, there's some incredible players and people, and, just keep trying to get the job done.
You think your phone number is going to be lighten up with advice from them?
From them? No, not really. They're pretty good. They're well established. Every year there's, first year, last year, there's something to learn. And, so there's always, we lean on teammates and different things. So I'm sure we'll still have some conversations here and there, but they're off to a pretty good start.
Joe, I know you've been hammered with Wyatt questions, so I'll hit you with one more. But he's about to enter the last year of his entry-level deal. Do you chat with him at all about the business side of hockey? Because this is kind of a next step for him in his young career, and you've obviously been a pretty big mentor for him.
We haven't chatted much that way. Like, he's focused, driven. I think he has a good understanding that stuff will take care of itself. The organization, I think, has done a tremendous job setting up contracts the way it is. It's what's allowed us to be as good as we've been, in the stretch here, but guys will get, get what they're worth, I would imagine. And, you know, playing roles, there's always pieces of, you know, for me, I never realized how fortunate I was to come up in San Jose, you know, with those guys, with Jumbo and Patty. And yeah, I don't, like they, you know, you just learn so much, and they took less to have a good team and allowed us to kind of always have that chance in the playoffs and play the meaningful games. And so, yeah, you hope like that continues, you know, to a certain extent. And, you know, it's no different than Otts and Robo and Roop and Miro, you know, just a little bit less to kind of have what we have here. And it's important. And, but, you know, there is a business side, and there's the fun stuff. And at the end of the game, the best time to play is right now. And, you know, I think they see that, and tons of respect for them, and, you know, tons of belief that they'll be there again, you know, next year and the year after. So, you know, excited for them.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, still gutted by the end. You know, I think anytime you get to the Final Four, you know, it feels like a missed opportunity. I've been to 2 finals, you know, talked to a lot of coaches that have won, and I think if you can get to that point, you legitimately have a chance to win. You've got a good enough group. It's just, you know, finding a way to get through, whether it's an extra goal, an extra save, you know, special teams. I mean, we'll dissect everything as we go. But we were really close, and you know, I don't think it was one thing. I mean, it was, you know, you can point to a couple things in the Edmonton series that probably cost us. Those same things were strengths in the Colorado series or the Vegas series that got us through. You know, that's just playoff hockey.
You ended in the same spot you ended last year, but when you look at the road to get there,
Yeah.
I imagine you can take a lot of positives from the regular season, from
Yeah.
the playoff run. How do you compare the two?
Yeah. I it's a great point. Same spot, but a totally different year and different feel. You know, I felt, you know, not that last year didn't feel legitimate, but you know, I felt like, you know, we were close, but weren't in that group last year. I felt this year we were right in the middle of that group. And, you know, for us as coaches, we've got to look and say, okay, how do we get to the top of that group now? As players, they've got to look and what do we do as players in order to find another level? And, you know, same thing on the team building end. You know, what do we need? So, you know, I think that's what organizations do in the off season. I heard Paul Maurice talk about, you know, their kind of what they did over the off season last year after losing in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think that's what a good organizations do. You look at everything and see how you can find another level.
Pete, I know it's not fun, but you've gone through this before.
Yeah.
How long in the past did it take you maybe to transition and move on, and does this feel different compared to previous times?
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You know, I really loved coaching this group. You know, I think there's a lot of groups. Anytime you go on a run with a team, you know, you build relationships and you get attached to that group. But, you know, I really enjoyed this group, probably for a lot of reasons. Obviously, you know, Joe Pavelski and Jamie Benn and some of the leadership in there. But I also loved, you know, some of the young players and what they brought. We had a great mix. It felt like a really special group this year. So, you know, that's always tough to move on from, because you know it's not going to be the same next year.
When you look at some of the numbers that didn't look good, the home record or the power play, do you sit there and see anything that you can explain, because we've talked about home and road, and they just, I don't
Yeah.
know, is there anything you look at?
Well, we're going to look at all those things. We're 24 hours out. So ask me that in September and we'll talk. At the same time, you're pointing to a couple numbers that were bad. There's an awful lot of really good numbers in there, including in those areas. I mean, our power play and penalty kill were top 10 in the league the last 2 years in a row, which I'm not sure any other organization has that. So, I think, there's a fine line you've got to walk there where you're looking. And like I said, I think some of those areas you pointed out helped us get through some of the tough teams we faced early in the playoffs. So there's definitely things we've got to get better at, but we'll start diving into that. And we've got, unfortunately, a little longer than we wanted to look at those things.
You mentioned the youth and how they kind of came through the season and how they played big parts of your postseason for you guys. I guess, what is the benefit to them having another run like this? And do you feel like you guys are set to come back just as strong next season?
Yeah.
Given that experience.
Yeah, I think we are, but you have to do it, and that's always easier said than done, but I think with the growth of our young players, with the experiences we've had the last couple years, I think we have all the potential in the world to be as good or better and try and make that next step. But you have to come back and do it again. You have to start and make the playoffs, and guys have to play up to their potential, and you have to get the proper amount of rest because we've gone on 2 deep runs and haven't won, and that has a toll on you, including on the injury front. We've got some guys that are banged up and, are going to have some procedures and things over the summer. How do they come back? So, there's still, yes, I'm really optimistic. I love on paper what's coming back, but we got to start and do it all again.
Can you give us any update on the injuries? Is that something Jim
No, that's something Jim will get into you. We're still doing exit medicals and all those things.
Last year, when you lost to Vegas, I remember you all talked about some things you could take from the Golden Knights, whether it was the depth scoring, their defense, and Jim really did kind of focus on that in the offseason.
Yeah.
From Edmonton, is there anything that you look at that you may want to model off of going into the offseason?
Can we get Connor McDavid? You know what? It's a great question, Leah. I think I think depth wins at this time of year, and I think that's proven every year, on defense and up front, and you can never have enough of it.
I know you guys talked a lot about not taking things as excuses, whether it was the travel, the time off between series, injuries, etc., and that next man up mentality. But do you feel like you really had like the best group you could have had deep into the playoffs? Or
what do you mean from an injury point of view?
Do you feel like you were hampered in that sense?
I think everyone's hampered. No, you don't get to the Final Four without being compromised and having guys that are compromised injury wise, and so but that's all part of the journey. You got to overcome that, and that's where that depth is critical.
For Joe Pavelski, whether this is it for him or not, how do you reflect on getting to coach him in your career, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, one of the highlights of my coaching career, was when I walked in the door in San Jose, and I didn't know Joe at all. Quickly in conversations with players in the room and people around the team, we made him captain. And, I think probably that says more about Joe Pavelski than anything. You had 2 former NHL captains in that room, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau, who are both Hall of Fame players. And they both said Joe Pavelski should be captain, which is, an unbelievable anointing of he wasn't a young player, but is still still relatively young player, to have two guys like that say this is the guy. That probably says more about him and his character and what he stands for than anything anyone could say. So and then from there, just again, consummate pro. Just the highlight of my coaching career, was working with him, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to come back and do it again after San Jose here for a couple of years.
You were pretty close. Do you talk to him about his decision at all?
I have, just not in any influence, but we've had conversations. Yeah.
Outside of the on ice impact that he has had, what do you think are going to be the fingerprints of his influence on your team moving forward?
Oh man, where do you start? How you prepare for a game. Probably the biggest thing is how you can enjoy the game. Under the pressure of having to perform to your contract and win games and win Stanley Cups, you've still got to enjoy the ride. And I think that's the great thing that Joe has found the balance of. And I think he learned that from other guys, but you've got to enjoy the day-to-day grind of what we do for a living, and not let it bury you. And he does that as well as anybody. He knows how to shut a game off and get a card game going and have a beer and have a nice dinner or relax or go golfing. That's a huge part, and I would hope our young guys got a piece of that.
At the same time, his preparation.
Oh, second to none. Yeah.
Like, how much does that influence? Like, you see him drag other players out on the ice a half hour before practice even starts.
Yeah, his work, when it's time to work, he works. He's got that. There's a time to play and a time to work, and he's got both those things figured out. And
As
I
a
think,
coach, I was gonna say, how important? Like you sit there and see the tips, and then you see he does this 200 times a day.
Yeah,
it really does. Like, doing it 200 times a day doesn't influence how it happens in the game.
for sure. And then that's rubbed off on, I think, all our guys, not just our young players. I think our veteran guys see that too. So I think his fingerprints are going to be all over this for a long time.
At the very beginning of camp, you guys talked about, you set the tone for everybody to take a little bit less accolades for themselves, but for the betterment of the team. Talk about how this group did embrace that and how that can continue to carry forward.
Yeah. Well, I think we've that was our mantra this year, but it really started a year ago, when we had conversations with Jamie Benn, about playing less. And I think the great thing that you learn through that sacrifice is you don't have to give up as much personal accolades and points and statistics as you feel you do by taking a little bit less and doing a little bit less in some of those areas. And I think some of those guys have had career years, like Jamie, with a little bit less. And, Matt Duchene, played probably 3-4 minutes a night less than he has in his entire career, still had a great year, 25 goals and, 70 points. So, they don't have to go hand in hand. And I think you have to live that sometimes to recognize it. I'll still get my stuff, and I can do it, by being, a part of something bigger.
When you look at the year Jake had, the ups and the downs, what do you hope that he?
Yeah. Well, one, really proud of him. I think in his own words, probably the toughest career of his year of his career, as far as adversity goes and questioning himself and riding confidence highs and lows. So I'm just really proud. I think he's going to be better for it. I think this is something every pro goes through, especially pro goalies. So it was almost a necessity, and to feel, what that felt like, how I got myself out of it, and just really proud of how he dug in and got himself back upright. And I thought he was great in the playoffs.
And how much we'll have in a real off season this time.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be huge. And, you know, let's be honest, that was the reason I think he had the adversity he had. He missed the entire off season with surgery, came back and then had another injury. So, I think the healthy off season, but I think what he went through this year is going to make him better. He's going to be a better goalie for it, but he's also going to be a better, he's going to have a better career for learning how to deal with it.
Chris Tanev, what has he meant and how
Yeah.
important is it to keep him around?
Yeah, we'd love to have him back. Changed our team when he came in, and in a lot of different ways. But we were a different team. That's probably the best compliment I can give him, that you add one guy to a key position like that, and we were a different team from that point on, and that's because of all the things he brought to the table. Okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Have a great summer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's, it sucks when, we all believed we could have won the cup. And, yeah, I mean, you want to, you work so hard all year to, get into, those opportunities. And, yeah, I mean, people always talk about, you don't realize how hard it is to win, especially when you're a younger guy. But, I mean, kind of maybe starting to see it, just kind of how competitive it is. And, yeah, I mean, overall, solid year though.
Joe Pavelski shared his news with us. I know we asked you about it the other night, but how important has it been for you early in your career to have him around, and what's it going to be like without him?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, thank him, his wife Sarah, and his son Nate enough. I mean, just amazing. First of all, amazing hockey player. Can learn, have learned so much from him, in terms of the on ice, but just away from the rink, just being able to see, how he treats his body, how he goes about, his day in, day out. Yeah, I mean, just so much that I've learned from him, and can't thank him and his family enough for what they've done for me. And I mean, I know everyone's kind of talked about it's not just me that he's had a huge impact on, it's everyone, it's a whole organization. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome to play with him the last 2 years, and having a chance to live with him was amazing.
Now that he's let it be known, how long have you known, or when did he tell you what he was thinking?
I kind of knew for a little bit. I don't remember exactly, but I mean, just kind of living around the house, you kind of get to know. But yeah, I mean, definitely makes us wanting to win a little extra more for him.
Have you started looking for new places?
No, not yet. Yeah. I'd take it. Yeah, hopefully maybe one of the other older boys will let me stay with them. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to figure that out. Got a summer to think about it.
He talked about his ability to leave the game as well. Like, in addition to being intense about being here, when he's not at the rink, he can clear his space. Is that something that helped you at all, or did you learn anything from him?
Yeah. I mean, he, I think, everyone can see how much, first of all, you see him, around the rink and how much he loves the game and enjoys his time. But, yeah, I mean, I think he was really a good example for me of that balance, having a life away from hockey. And, yeah, I think just seeing from him and just kind of learning, how important that is to, be able to separate, hockey from your life and just, be able to get away from the game. And, yeah, I mean, he, just being around him, I mean, he enjoys his time away from the rink, also while being, making sure he's doing all the right things, treating his body really well, but, finding hobbies and stuff like that. He's got so many different hobbies and stuff he likes to do and enjoy, away from the rink.
How do you kind of assess your second season in the NHL?
I mean, overall, I think it just great for, learning and, just trying to improve. I mean, obviously it sucks, not reaching the final goal, but being able to play another 3 playoff series and just taking that experience with me. I think overall it was great for me, just just to learn and improve. And still really young. I still got a long way to improve and work on my game and get better. And I think overall just great, just trying to learn, just trying to improve and take those experiences with me and also try to do my best to enjoy it at the same time. It's so much fun. It's a dream playing in the NHL and especially playing in the playoffs. And overall just kind of a lot of fun and just trying to learn and improve each year.
Do you even feel like you've played more than 200 games over 2 years? I mean, it's already been over 200 games.
Yeah.
And with playoffs,
Yeah. I don't know. Definitely. You definitely start to. I mean, come playoff time, everyone, is working through things, and just I think for me, I think the biggest thing was making sure, you're recovering and doing all the right things so that, it doesn't feel like, you're playing your 100th game. Is I think that's one thing I've just tried to learn, to treat my body really well and make sure that it's not feeling like the 100th game for me, or not feeling like the 120th game when it's only the 90th game. So I mean, overall going to need some time to just kind of rest and recover. But I think the biggest thing is trying to not let it feel like you've played as many games as you have, which is not easy in this league.
You have some peers here, and Maverick and Logan and Bixel now. Do you look at this group and think we can do some important things? And then are you part of the leadership of that group at 21?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. Seeing Logan once he came to the team. I mean, I've always known how good he is. Maverick too. I mean, it's definitely exciting. Being able to see all the young guys and how good they are. And try my best to, try to help be a leader. I try to do my best, help him with Stank, especially when he was first coming up. Obviously being with Pavs at the house and trying to help him as best as I can. But also at the same time, like all those guys are really good hockey players, and they found their way, and they've more than found their way to being a really, really good player. And I think for me, trying to help if I can, do my best. Thank you.
Yeah, got hit with the puck, and then next shift I jumped on the ice, took a step, and felt something pop in my ankle. Obviously right away you're like thinking the worst and thinking like, oh man, I just popped my Achilles, and thankfully it wasn't that. So just hurt some of the tendons that go behind my ankle. No surgery. I'll be fine in a couple weeks, which is awesome. So docs and medical staff did a great job to allow me to play, and very fortunate for that.
It seems like you've just been able to play through almost anything. At least that was kind of how you were described before coming here. Is that, how much of that is just the will to want to play? How much of it is just being able to, the doctors clearing you? How do you, get out there after those situations?
First of all, you got to be, some things you get hurt and it's impossible. You're not going to play. So, if there's a chance and there's things that they can do to help you play in a situation like that, you're going to exhaust all options to get out there and try to help the team.
So you were ready to go another 2 weeks if needed?
100%. Take my leg if you needed to.
How do you look at free agency and your time here?
Yeah, I had a great time here. Organization treated me awesome. Coaches were great. I learned a lot. It was a great journey. It's obviously not ended how we wanted to, but you learn from that, and think about a lot this summer and how to get better and how do you get to that next level. But yeah, I mean, I hopefully I'm able to stay here. I had a great time. My family had a great time here. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's still obviously really early. We're sort of still trying to get over losing, and I mean, I think we all hope for a better outcome.
As a player, do you know when you fit? Because I mean, from the outside, it looks like you fit exactly what they need.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I said, I enjoyed myself. The coaches were great. The players were great. They embraced me from day one, and had my role, which was awesome, and really good team, obviously. So I mean, it's team set up for success for quite some time with how good the players are, how sort of the different age groups of players, and how the young guys have progressed and are going to be elite players in the league. So I mean, as far as that, I'm super fortunate that I was able to be here.
From getting traded at the deadline, you have some games, you go right into postseason. It feels a little bit like a whirlwind from the outside. So how important was it for you to be able to feel that comfort immediately and just be able to focus on the on-ice stuff?
Yeah, huge. First time I've been traded, and you hear stories, really good stories. You hear really bad stories. So just how the organization treated my family, I think was sort of made it the easiest for me. I mean, going out and playing is one thing, but when you're worrying about, hey, is my kid okay? Is my wife doing all right? And they treated them like gold, and that sort of allows you to just go out and worry about playing hockey, and that was awesome.
You have an interesting relationship with Joel Hamley now. I just thought that was a week. I mean,
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've just texted back and forth. So I mean, it's he seems like a great guy. So I mean, he seems awesome, and I've never met him, but hopefully we can have a beer one day.
What's your impression of Joe Pavelski, and what did you learn in the short time you were here?
Yeah, played against Joe for my whole career, and so hard to play against. And I was happy to be on his team this time and not have to worry about him tipping pucks in front of you and getting goals. Class act. I think he approached the game every day the right way. Such a good leader for the group. So I'm not sure what his plan is or what's going on, but for me, it was a privilege to play with him for the 3 months or whatever it was. And I definitely have learned a lot from him, and just what I can sort of learn and take forward from him has been a blessing for sure.
With young guys like Miro and Thomas Harley, what do you see in them and just the future of the blue line in this organization?
Yeah, I mean, Miro's been incredible for a lot of time now. So I mean, he's gonna get only better. He's still so young, but Tommy was incredible. I think he's gonna be an elite defenseman in the league. He skates so well. Doesn't cheat the game at all. He plays just as hard in his own end as he does in the O zone, and the way he skates and his ability to move the puck. You don't see that every day in a defenseman, especially how young he is. So I mean, he's already really, really good, and he's gonna get to that next level where I think people outside of Dallas that maybe don't know him as well are gonna be like, wow, this guy's he's a really good player. Thank you, guys.
So we'll start you with, you want to be back?
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. It was, it's kind of funny. I of all the years I've lost out in the playoffs, this is easily the most disappointing, and it feels almost like the season was a failure, but it's not really. It's the total opposite. And, it's a damn hard trophy to win. And, we had probably 2 games in that series that we didn't bring it like we could have, and that was the difference. And we easily could be playing game 7 today. We should be playing game 7 today, let's be honest. And we could easily be preparing for the finals. So that's how close it was, and we know that, and it's going to sting for a while. But it was a great experience being here this year.
you've been through a lot of different situations. Is this like the perfect situation for you? You seem like you can be a depth forward and be an important player and be on a team that has a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I had basically the same role I've had everywhere else I've played in my career. And we have, the cool part about it is we have several of those guys. And when certain guys aren't going, other guys are there to step up and vice versa. And yeah, if this group's able to stay together, which it looks like it should be able to, this is a great situation. Absolutely.
All season long, ask a guy about their own game and you get an answer. Ask them about somebody else, one of their teammates, you get much longer answers, smiles all around. Can you talk a little bit about how close this team was, especially coming into the room for the first time?
Yeah, it's a great group of people, top to bottom. You know, from right at the top with Jim all the way to the coaching staff, to the players, to the trainers, to everybody. I mean, it's just a really good group of human beings, and that adds up to a lot of success. And that's why we were able to do what we did this year. And I think none of us feel like we should be, you know, talking about this today. We feel like we should be talking about something else, something better, in terms of, you know, still playing. But it's such a fine line, and you know, it's like I said, it's going to sting for a bit, but it's a special group for sure, like you mentioned.
Does it make it sting a little bit more knowing that Joe's not going to be there next season? There will be some change.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what that situation is. I know there's nothing official yet, but yeah, not sure what the changes will be. I mean, if Joe's not back, I mean, that's obviously an amazing person and player to lose out of your room, and guys will have to pick up from that. But we have some young guys coming that are going to be able to step in and make a difference. And you know, for older guys and the younger guys that have been here now, that, you know, it's just, you know, you just next man up mentality. That's how we had all year. And whether guys were hot or cold or injured didn't matter. And so if that's the case, and that's the way it'll be handled. But yeah, if he's not back, you know, that's a tough hole to fill. And you know, obviously we're lucky to have guys that will be able to step in, but at the same time, I mean, I want to speak to the importance and the value of a guy like that, because those guys don't come around that often.
We talk a lot about what the younger guys like Wyatt and Logan can learn from Joe, but for yourself and other veteran guys, what have you learned from him?
Yeah, I think I just watched him a lot and how he conducted himself, and he's played some big hockey, and he was so close to winning, you know, a few times, and you know, he's a great leader. I just kind of took it all in, to be honest with you. And, you know, if you want me to narrow it down, it's kind of hard, but I think there's a lot of little things I picked up along the way. And I think you're never too old in life, and especially in sports, to learn. And you know, as you can be the oldest guy in the room and learn from the youngest guy, and, you know, everywhere in between. So he was definitely a guy I watched like a hawk this year, and definitely, and picked up some stuff for sure.
Statistically speaking, I think he had 5 of, you know, the best point careers in Dallas from 34 to 39. I mean, it is impressive that you know, a player can do that. A hard thing.
Yeah. I think a little bit too much is made of that, to be honest with you, because I think when you have a guy like that who takes care of himself, who focuses on his game, and, you know, is that smart, that gifted, that whole package, I don't think it's surprising. I mean, we don't retire and then die the next year. You know what I mean? We're still, there's still lots of life left to live. And I mean, you know, I think generations are getting younger as it's going along, and with the health and science and everything nowadays, there's no reason guys can't play into their 40s now, in my opinion. But maybe that's just wishful thinking, because I'm 33, but you know, I'm not surprised at all with him. I mean, as long as the hands and the mind doesn't go, you know, it's and that's always been elite for him. It's not surprising he had that success.
Matt, when you reflect what you went through emotionally last summer to what you've gone through where you are now, it feels like it's been quite a journey for you personally.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was actually I dealt with more of, I think, some of that near the later part of the year than I did at the beginning. It was just, I didn't have time to even take a breath from, I mean, I kind of talked about it with coaches this morning. I lose the end of my finger in March last year. I have 3 surgeries. I, you know, get kind of blindsided and end up a free agent, sign here. I'm here 3 days later looking for a house, trying to figure that out. I got 3 kids at home, you know, I fly here, I fly there, I start camp, new teammates, new system, new coaches, new everything. I think it kind of hit me a little bit and kind of caught up with me about 60 games in. And, you know, I'm still sorting through some of those emotions and those things. I'm a human being at the end of the day. And I was kind of running like a robot there for about, I would say probably 9 months. So I really wanted to win this year. I felt like it was a special year and a year that we could win. And I think that would have helped a lot of, some of those things I'm sorting through, but it's not the case. And I'm looking forward to just slowing things down, hopefully now this summer and taking a breath. And, one day I'll look back on this and be really thankful for, the growth and the adversity, because that's how we get better and that's how we become who we're meant to be. And it's just going to make me better at the end of the day. Sometimes it makes you weaker before you get stronger, but sorry for the long answer. I just kind of reflecting a little bit, and that's it was a lot and it still is a lot. And, I'm looking forward to moving forward now.
Would coming back next season kind of help settle a lot of that?
Yeah, I think I've found, I just think I've just really found I never felt like I was, not at home or wherever where I've been before, but, coming after you go through something like that, you kind of search and kind of wonder and you probably overthink things. And when really at the end of the day, it's a simple business decision that, you probably take too personally or whatever. So everyone around here has really helped me kind of heal that way and move forward. It's been the perfect situation for that. And I'm just really grateful to my teammates and the coaches and everybody for how they welcomed me in and getting to be part of this was really special. And the experiences I had this year will be ones that will last the rest of my life and will hopefully add up to me helping a team win the Stanley Cup. Good. Awesome. Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks.
Younger players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, a couple of us were talking just obviously with, knowing he probably won't be back and just like, I don't think it'll really like set in until like next year, when you come back for camp and, he's not there and you're on the plane and he's right next to me and he's not in his seat and stuff. So I think, I just don't think there's enough, words to say, how big of a presence he is. And it's not a hole that you'll ever be able to fill, you can do the best you can, but that's you're never going to fill that. And he's just the ultimate teammate and just human being. And just me personally, like being his teammate for 4 years has been like unbelievable. And the things that he's taught me, and it's not even like the words that he says, it's just like how he does it. That's I think the best thing about him is he doesn't just like say it, he embodies it, and he's an all-time teammate for sure.
Luke Glendening said at the end of last year that every team is its own team.
Mm-hmm.
Does this drive this home that next year's team's a different team? This year's
Yeah.
team was this team.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a tough thing about this business is, no two teams are the same. It feels like year after year, and especially with a guy like him not being back, is just like it'll never be the same, So it's up to us now, the young guys that he's, put his hands on and taught. It's up to us to step up and try to fill that void and take on more of a leadership role. And, for myself, I think I can be more of a leader and try to, do what he taught me and embody what he taught me, and maybe that'll rub off on a young guy.
Ty's been a guy who's been around him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know Ty very well.
Yeah.
Wyatt, obviously. What do you see in the younger guys like at the forwards? I know obviously rubbed up on you too, but the forwards to learn how to play and to learn to do what Joe does. Repetition.
Yeah, I think those two are two of the most that he's had his impact on for sure. And I think both of those guys are great human beings as well as Pav. So I think that's why Pav, he recognizes that, he sees that in them, and that they can, take on that role that he had. And I just think, I think those guys will forever be grateful for what he taught them and just the work ethic and showing up to the rink. I mean, there's no one that loves being here more than Pav, and he taught all of us that. And, you know, to never take these opportunities for granted, I think is kind of the biggest message. Like, yeah, we have, you know, a good young team and we should hopefully be good for a while, but, you know, that doesn't really mean anything unless you really get the job done. So we haven't done that yet. And, you know, until we do that, it's, you know, we can't be looking down the road like, hey, we're going to be good for 5 years. It's like, no, let's win this sucker now while we can. And I felt like we could do that this year, and we didn't.
For you personally, after the regular season that you had,
Mhm.
how was it to end on the note that you ended in the playoffs? Was that a big confidence boost and kind of rewarding?
For sure, yeah. I think, you know, I think the last, like, you know, 15 games of the regular season, I think I got back to, you know, playing like I know I can play, and a lot of that had to do with the stuff I talked with Reeser and the work I did with him and just some changes I made. And once I kind of got the hang of what I wanted to work on and like put it into my game and saw the results, was like really rewarding. And like you said, I think just playoffs can wash away a regular season, good or bad. So I think, you know, you want to play your best in playoffs for your teammates. And, you know, I felt like I gave my team a chance to win, and for the most part, and obviously I still have a lot of room to get better, and I could have been better this year as well. And so that's what it's all about. I think every guy just needs to look internally, and I mean, we're right there, so it's not a big difference. Just what can each of us do a little bit better to get over the hump.
Knowing you're going to have an off season this year, does that just set you up for success heading into next year?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that I can skate in an off season is huge, and work on my game. I have so much stuff I want to get better at, and so much room to grow still. And, you know, I think I'm pretty close to getting my game to where I know it can be. And I think with a great summer in the gym and on the ice, I think I'll be able to do that next year. And I just want next season to start already.
We look from the outside. 25 is a lot of times a goalie's just getting his start as a number one. Do you look at where you are in the process of how far you've come and what you've done, and at 25,
Yeah.
what you can do going forward?
Yeah, I think I was lucky to be put in a great organization to get a start to my career that not a lot of goalies get at my age, and to be given the opportunity that I got, and to have, you know, earned the spot I have right now at such a young age, I think is just a big advantage. And like you said, I think, you know, being 25, I mean, I've been to the Stanley Cup final, I've been to the 2 conference finals. I have all the experience that I need now. Like, I know what I need to do to win. I know what I need to do to my body and my mind. And I think I'm going to, you know, take a big advantage from having all this experience. And like you said, I think I'm just about to enter, you know, the best years of my career.
Wedge a free agent. How important has it been having him around? And
Yeah.
would you like to see him back?
No, I don't want to see him back. No, he's, you know, the best goalie partner I've ever had in my career. And just like, you know, knowing that you have someone that has your back and like wants you to genuinely, you know, do well. And he's helped me so much and just gives me confidence. And yeah, I really, really want to see him back. So
When you look at what he does, it's like the whole package. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about Robertson or guys like that.
yeah,
I mean, he helps him be a better player.
yeah, for
And
sure.
then when you're out, he goes and wins games too. So I mean,
Yeah.
as you look at quote unquote the perfect backup goalie, he seems like that person.
Yeah, just he's just a great human being. And, you know, I think we work really, really well together. And, you know, Reeser and I think have a pretty special thing going on, and hopefully they see that and bring him back, and no one would be happier than me. So yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks guys. Have a good one. Thank you.